It's time for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. And now your host, J. Bryan Nugen, estate planning and elder law attorney.
Good morning and welcome to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I'm attorney J. Bryan Nugen, founder of Nugen Law and your host for our program. The purpose of our show is to have weekly, in-depth conversations about matters relevant to folks as they walk down the path of successful aging. Our listeners will learn what it is to age with dignity and how best to protect their money. I've been practicing law for 3 decades, am licensed to practice in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and actively represent clients in all 4 states. My practice, the attorneys and our interdisciplinary team of professionals who practice with me at Nugen Law, concentrate on working with clients in estate planning and elder law, areas related to them such as estate and trust administration, guardianships, planning for those with special needs. Today I have a member of the Nugen Law interdisciplinary team, Brian Grubb, our elder care coordinator, or as we call him, BG. Before we get into asking BG questions, you should know that he has a degree in psychology, is a licensed social worker, having been licensed for 30 plus years. BG is also a major part of how Nugen Law strives to preserve and protect the dignity of our clients. BG, please explain what services you do as an elder care coordinator.
Well, good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
It's very hard to just kind of narrow it down, but the main thing that I do is I'm a resource for individuals. So when I meet individuals for the first time, I find out what their needs may be, and sometimes the attorneys help identify what those needs are, but when I meet with people, I'll find out like what kind of things they're struggling with, and then I'll help them determine like what I can do for them. So it could be like attend care plan meetings at facilities, assisted living facilities, memory care facilities. I may give them referrals for benefits or referrals for services that they may need. I help them with different processes that they may need to go through with the Medicaid waiver. I'm an advocate for them, so I can speak with physicians, speak with facilities on things that they may struggle with and maybe just need some additional assistance with. So I'm a liaison for all those people. I help find additional benefits, maybe some things that they wouldn't even know that they were eligible for. So usually when I meet with people for the first time, I identify kind of like the most pressing needs. So, and a lot of times the attorneys let me know kind of what those things are. So, and I appreciate that. So I might jump in right away on getting those things. Go ahead.
So when you talk about needs, what's typically motivating a family member or a client to come into you and say, "Hey, we're witnessing these changes in mom or dad or our spouse"? What things are you normally hearing that's motivating people to come to you, talk to you as an elder care coordinator, talk to Nugen Law? What is it that you're typically seeing initially?
Initially, for a lot of people, it's just changes in health, mental health, memory, those kind of things. So it's prompting them to look at and identify things that they're going to be needing to do. So maybe it's a living arrangement. Maybe mom and dad are both living at home right now, and they may need to reevaluate. So if mom or dad is having some health issues and they can't help with that anymore, or they're getting worn out by that, then I'll help kind of figure out a plan for that.
I think of a case that we had together where a client was living at home, successfully living at home with a lot of help from the family. But one of the issues was food.
Yeah.
Right? It's not easy for her to prepare food any longer. Yeah. She's eating cheese and crackers on a regular basis as opposed to a proper meal.
Yeah.
Are you seeing things as simple as that's getting you involved?
Yes, for sure. Those kind of things come up all the time, and they just deal with it. But when they see the law firm, they'll start kind of talking about some things, and we're like, oh, we might be able to help with that. Mm-hmm. So like in that example, we were able to help get Aging and Home Services involved immediately, and they were able to start getting meals delivered to their home. So that was a simple, immediate need that we were able to address right away.
You used a phrase, aging and in-home services.
Yes.
So for our listeners that aren't familiar with that, what is aging and in-home services?
That is the area aging on aging and disabled. So they not only served elderly, but also disabled. But throughout the state, I forget how many agencies there are, but there's through localities, like I think our local agency is located in Fort Wayne. I think it serves 6 or 7 counties, and they are in charge of many different things, but mostly case management services, helping seniors and others with disabilities to get services in their home.
And with Aging in Home Services, is there some type of an economic scale where they would provide services to you or not provide services to you based upon your assets or your income?
Well, sometimes, but not really. They'll provide service to anybody. You just have to go through the process, go through a screening, and then sometimes a further screening. But they will help anybody. So
great. Going back to the instance of this client I was just referencing that was needing to have meals in the home. Mm-hmm. What did the process look like for you to get those meals starting to be delivered to the home?
Yeah, well, it's really simple. Really, the first part is just to call that number, and that number is 745-1200 in Fort Wayne.
260.
Yeah, 260. And you call that number, and then they have a resource center. So the ADRC part of that agency will help you get started on that. So really, that part's simple. They will identify whether or not you have the need and whether or not you would qualify for the need, and then they would send somebody out eventually. They usually do like a pre-screening over the phone. And then after that, they'll send somebody out, case manager, and then that person will evaluate you and see if you fit. And possibly other things then too, sure. Way above and beyond.
So let's talk about those other things, because normally it's not just I need warm meals delivered, or I need meals delivered to my home that I can warm up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those other services that folks may not even be aware of that you coordinate for them to have that type of care in their home.
Yeah. Well, for some people, it's home health care. For some people, it may be just services like I just helped an individual. A couple of people recently get the CapTel phone, which is the captioning phone. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, I was wanting you to define what that was.
Oh, yeah, which is a great service. People, again, they see these commercials on TV and they don't even realize that they may be eligible for that kind of thing. So helping them with that kind of thing. Again, meals. There's other programs. We can talk more about that if we want to, but there's all sorts of things that people can benefit from.
And what about direct care in an individual's home? Not home health care. Home health care is nursing. That home, that hands-on attendant care. Would you be involved as an elder care coordinator in orchestrating that type of care in their home? Yeah,
absolutely. Working with the case management team, helping with the assessment process. In fact, recently there was a case where some people were denied because they didn't feel like they really met the criteria. But I helped attend a re-screening for that and help that happen. So some of the services may be like cleaning, maybe like cooking meals, those kind of things. Basic home stuff that you can't do anymore, or the family couldn't do anymore, or that they were just getting worn out.
Sure. And as an elder care coordinator, how are you involved in and instrumental in making sure your clients know that those things exist, and then how to get in touch with the service providers?
Well, first of all, just letting them know. I'm able to, because I've been doing this work for a long time with a lot of different individuals, and I've been helping people just identify what they need, first of all, by an assessment of, just making sure that, hey, do you know that you could probably benefit from this? And then just identifying those things. I have a lot of just resource knowledge, so I'll be able to kind of help people through that whole thing.
How is it that you coordinate those services? How do you make that connect?
Yeah.
So you've met with the client, you've assessed the client, you've determined what their needs are, needs they may not even recognize that they have.
Yeah.
How do you make the connection between that and the providers for those different services that could help them out?
Okay, it depends on the individuals and kind of what they want. So I always want to take their lead on things. So sometimes, I'll give them the information, maybe connect them with that resource. But most of the time, I'll do that directly. So I'll call the agency, or I'll call the resource and get in touch with them. And then what I do is make sure that it happens. So I do a lot of follow through and just updating them. So I will do pretty much every step of the way, depending on what the needs of the individual are and the service. So, for example, again, with the CapTel phone, at first, one of the sons wanted to do that themselves. Okay, go ahead. A couple weeks later, one of the other sons said, "Hey, were you going to help Dad with that?" And I said, "I passed that on to your other brother." The brother said to me, then I happened to see him one day, or called him out in the office. He happened to be in the office. I said, "Hey, so-and-so, would you like me to take that over for you?" And he just kind of, big smile on face, "Yes, please."
Right.
So I just took the ball from there. So what I did was I contacted the provider for that and made sure that it happened. And actually, within 24 hours, that happened.
Excellent.
And a lot of times, I think it's just one of the things that I build on is just resource relationship. Mm-hmm. So the people that I work with, no matter whether it's aging home services or somebody for a medical alert or whatever it is that we're working on, I build strong relationships with communities, individuals at those communities or those service providers, so that when we work with people, that they get the best care and best service.
So you have been talking about services that they may receive in their own home. Mm-hmm. As an elder care coordinator with Nugen Law, would you also assist in transitioning them to someplace other than their home if it's appropriate? And what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We hope, and most people hope, that they can stay in their home forever.
Of course. That
doesn't always happen. So absolutely, I will help people find assisted living facilities. Depends on if they're paying out of pocket, or sometimes if they're on a Medicaid waiver, they can get that paid for.
But if I could interrupt you, what is an assisted living facility? Let's define that.
Okay, assisted living facilities are facilities that provide a higher level of care. So if somebody's living at home and they need assistance with maybe medication monitoring, or with meal preparation, or just to be checked on. So assisted living facilities do those kind of extra things to help people still be as independent as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think we've used the phrase, as long as it makes sense.
Right.
That's a great phrase, because, again, most people want to stay at home as long as they can, but we want to make sure that it makes sense for them staying at home. So an assisted living facility may be a facility that benefits an individual in ways that just living at home is maybe not as safe as it could be. And a lot of times family members are pushing for that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the individual pushes for that in assisted living.
They're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, they recognize that it isn't so easy for me to remain at home, and I need to start thinking about a different transition. I'm not ready for a nursing home. I don't want to go to a nursing home. However, my being at home isn't healthy for me.
Right.
And the kids are recognizing it. And sometimes it's difficult to bring up that topic with your parents. Hey, Mom, you know, we're seeing these changes. Yeah. What's it really is, how can we create an environment which is the least restrictive environment that makes the most sense for you, meeting you where you are at this time. Yeah. So once your client is in the assisted living facility, well, let me back up. So I'm assuming, PG, that you would coordinate for your clients different facilities for them to take a look at, facilities that have good rankings, that you have a good history with and are comfortable referring to. Yep. And so tour those with clients and establish those tours for clients. Yeah, and sometimes folks want to do that on their own, and because they think if I'm helping, they might get a different kind of view. So sometimes, and I tell people, you can go unannounced if you want, or you can go with an appointment. And, you know, I mean, there's advantages, I think, to both. But again, it's having relationships. And a lot of times for people, it's about the location. So we're looking at places when they tell me, or we're talking about potential changes for the future for them and their living arrangements. We're talking about what are their needs. And sometimes with couples, it can be very different too. One nice thing about the facilities are that the relationships with the kids can change. They can become a lot more less like work for families. Mm-hmm.
The facilities usually offer transportation. They offer all the things that you're doing. They sometimes have medical people in the facility, physical therapy, occupational therapy, those kind of things. So it's one less trip for the family members. A lot of times the family members are worn out. It's almost more like a job. It's a loving job, but they are worn out by all the responsibilities of taking care of mom and dad. So,
in that example of the assisted living facility, if your client moves in, is your job done then as an elder care coordinator? Are you finished and you don't see the client again, or what happens after that point?
Yeah, absolutely not. And again, I do take their lead. I mean, a lot of families, once they find out what I can do for them and help them, they want more. They don't want less. They want more. So I extend those relationships for as long as we're serving them. So I would absolutely go to an assisted living facility, help with whatever needs they still have there, identify needs still. Like I was at a home recently when it was at an assisted living, and they had some things in there. This person was a fall risk, and so there were some things in that, even in the assisted living, I'm like, hey, you might want to think about this. Even though you're getting that other assistance, don't fall while you're here.
No, of course not. You mentioned care plan meetings earlier. Do you have a care plan meetings in assisted living facilities?
Yes. It depends on the facility and how they do that, but every place is different. But yes, absolutely in assisted living. And you can always call for them. And that's one of the things I also would do is advocate for, like if I see some changes or something like, maybe assisted living, and some facilities have higher levels of care.
Sure.
So I might say, why don't we have a care plan meeting, talk to the family about that, and then
how do you communicate if the family is or isn't in that care plan meeting? Of course, they can be in it. Sometimes they're not able to participate.
Yeah.
But how do you take that next step then and let the family know, this was the need that we had the care plan meeting. How do you take it beyond that so that the family understands what's happening and what we're doing with and for their loved one?
Yeah, I frequently, a lot of times I communicate as much, if not more, with family members as I do with others. One example would be with one family that we had a care plan meeting. Not everybody was on. The family there's several siblings. We communicated a group text kind of thing, so I can communicate that way. I always follow up by phone. So I want to make sure that people know what's going on. And sometimes it goes the other way. Maybe I had 2 care plan meetings at the same time. I wasn't able to. I always reach out to the facility. For example, the other day I just got an email that couldn't be at 2 places at the same time, so I got an email from a facility social worker who told me step by step what they discussed in their meeting and communicated with me. So communication really is the key for all of that. With family, with the individual. And I always want the individual to know that they are primary for me. Recently, I met with a family.
When you say individual, you mean the client?
The client, yes, yeah. I'm sorry. So whenever I'm with people, whether it's in a care plan meeting, like I was the other day at a facility with the client, family members, I always want to address the client. They're the most important person in that meeting. And really, I sometimes have to just redirect. Sometimes everybody's talking to the family members, and it's kind of like, this person here that's sitting here too, hey, they need to be part of this.
They need to be in the loop, for sure.
Yep.
And that's part of the dignity part.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're respecting their dignity and their independence, and I found that if you speak with your client, regardless of where they are in the aging process and their cognition, as a mature individual, and explain to them what's going on, it definitely goes a long way. Yeah. And you can interject in the family dynamic. Right, you're an outside party, and I think sometimes we speak to people outside the family a little bit more nicely or a little more deferentially than we would somebody that's in the family.
True.
So if that assisted living facility stay is no longer appropriate, doesn't make sense for your client, would you be involved in that next transition if they needed to leave the assisted living facility? And what does that look like?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I think that's one of the key things that we can provide for individuals is that knowledge that there's something better. maybe for them. Maybe that's not what they're hoping for, but maybe there's something better care. So what that would look like is maybe part of the care plan meeting or behind the scenes with the individual, like having a conversation with them. Hey, maybe this might be a better time or a better place to be right now. They might provide you more. And also, again, getting back to that family thing, allow your loved ones to participate with you, go shopping with you, go to dinner with you, go do something fun rather than caretaking for you. Mm-hmm. So I would always help organize that, always help with whatever level of needs that they had with that. But work with different facilities. And sometimes people, here's an example, as far as the life care planning, the way the law firm works, we're thinking about long distance. So with some people, it's going to be like, let's not just think about today, okay? Let's think about the future. So if you go to an assisted living facility today and you're starting to have some memory issues, maybe we should think about a facility that has not only assisted living, but different levels. Maybe they have a memory care at the same place so that we can not necessarily transition and make another move, a year from now or 2 years from now. So
you're
thinking ahead.
You're identifying those issues for your clients, thinking ahead, and making sure that the facility or facilities you're referring them to make sense for them and where your client is in their aging process. And excellent.
Yeah, and for the families too. I mean, it's hard enough to move one time.
Oh, yeah.
But then when you have to do that again, and they find, the research shows that the more moves you make, the harder it is on an individual.
Sure, the adjusting period. Yeah. When your cognition is not as sharp as it once was, that change of environment, changing colors, changing people around you, lack of consistency can be very disruptive, for sure.
Well, an example, recently this last year, we had somebody that was living in a retirement community, moved to an assisted living facility, struggled a lot with that move, having a really hard time. We had a care plan meeting, a big meeting with family members and many of the staff, and it didn't look like she was adjusting very well at all. Actually, she was declining. And now, actually, after a period of time with some changes with communication with the nursing staff and with the family, it's going really well. She seems to be doing better. And then there's always that educational part with what should you expect out of a nursing facility or assisted living facility. That's a big deal.
That's excellent. That's an excellent point you make.
Yeah, that's a big deal because not what you expect. It's not like living at home.
No.
So they are able to do things. But again, I think the key is communicating with the staff.
And your role, BG, as an elder care coordinator is to make sure that communication is happening, is to make sure that there's being a healthy transition from location A to location B, to set that expectation for the family and for them to have a voice piece, a mouthpiece for them as the liaison between the family and the facilities so that it's going as smoothly as it can considering the circumstances.
Yes, for sure. And actually, a lot of times I'm more like a mediator.
Yes.
Because I want the facilities to also know that I'm working for them. I'm working for them to make it better for the client and for them to help with the understanding of what the facility can and cannot do. So a lot of times it feels, to me anyways, that I want to help both sides. So
ideally, when do you start working with your clients? Is earlier better? Do you prefer to be called in when there's an emergency happening? What's the best case scenario? The
best case scenario would be as soon as the law firm meets with somebody, tells me what their needs are. I try to get on it immediately. For me, the most important thing about my role is creating a relationship with them, a trusting relationship. I want them to know me. I want them to know that they can count on me, that I'm a trustworthy individual. I'm nobody to them. So I'm walking in their home asking all these personal questions.
Right.
That's a hard thing for anybody to do.
Sure.
So, yeah, absolutely.
And the client is concerned. Right. They're feeling like their independence is being removed, and I don't need your help. Clearly, they need help, but I don't need your help. I can make these decisions myself. I find that the earlier a client has a relationship with you, I think recently we had a couple, husband and wife, and in this instance, no children. But they're thinking ahead. We want to establish this relationship with an advocate for us, this elder care coordinator, so that if our circumstances change, we have someone in our corner that can shepherd us through the entire aging process, maintaining our dignity, make sure we're protecting our wealth, and you as an ECC coordinator, elder care coordinator, ECC, really fit in nicely to that need for them.
Thank you. And I don't think a lot of people even understand until I start working with them. In fact, there's that one family that really basically told us, and I didn't even know this, that they didn't even want me.
Right.
And then their mom passed away, and at that point in time, the one son who really was against me even participating with him said, BG, you were the best part of this whole thing for us. Yeah. One of the things I do is still go into the facilities, and I just become a friend of those individuals too. And I'm a professional, but really it goes way beyond that for me. I want to make a difference. But I also just want to be there to support, And back to your question about emergencies, I will just say this. If we can get to people sooner than later, that's a wonderful thing to start building that relationship, start thinking about things. But also with that situation, I would just say, no matter what stage, if it's a crisis, I'm jumping in. So I've done quite a few things where you call me, I'm coming over, we're going to work through it.
Well, I think that when people come to Nugen Law initially, oftentimes it's motivated by, I'm nervous about spending money. I'm nervous about losing my money to the nursing home. I saw grandma lose the farm, etc. And so they're not as aware as they should be about the elder care coordination services, that life care planning piece of what we do. And it's very refreshing for them. I think it's just exposing clients to what we do. That's one of the reasons we're on the radio, is to expose people to what is out there and what resources they have available to them. Well, our day has gone quickly. I appreciate your coming in and speaking with me, BG. Your insight's very helpful to all of our clients and hopefully the listeners as well. If someone would like to meet with you in person, how is it that they can get a hold of you?
Well, just call the law firm.
All right, and that's at 260-925-3738.
Yeah.
We have offices in Auburn and in Fort Wayne, and or they can email us and email us at help, H-E-L-P, at nugenlaw, nugenlaw.com. Well, thank you again, BG. I sincerely appreciate your coming in today.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law, and to our guest, Elder Care Coordinator, Mr. Brian Grubb, BG. I look forward to next weekend, Saturday at 9 a.m. for our next show. Enjoy your weekend.
You've been listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. For more information, log on to nugenlaw.com or email help@nugenlaw.com. Nothing stated in today's program should be considered as legal advice, should not be considered as having created an attorney-client relationship between show host and guests and any listener. Nugen Law is not liable for anything that happens as a result of a listener relying on provided information as legal advice. The content is for informational purposes only.